least 20 minutes behind already, so can I ask you guys to sit down and we can start the meeting. Welcome everybody. We've got light attendance today. I'm not sure why that is, but okay. How many newbies? How many guests? Elliot I met. Felicia, you're a guest, is that what you're saying? You're a newbie? All right. I don't know you, sir. Robert, Steve? Carlos, I couldn't read it in my eyes. Welcome. Okay, thanks for coming. So we have kind of a format we follow here for those of you who haven't been here, and we do have a speaker. Our speaker is Mr. Elgin Childress, and I will introduce him at the appropriate time. Speaker's supposed to come on at 7:30. We have a bunch of stuff to do between now and then, so we'll have to get it going. So do we have a pointer? Yes. So there's a meeting after the meeting at the Rose and Crown. A lot of us go there and have a 3,000 calorie late night snack. And guests, we want you to join Georgia REIA. You're supposed to pay $25 as a guest today, but if you join, we will credit that towards your $149 first year membership fee. The renewals are only $99, first year's $149. Check out the member benefits table. Find out about our latest discounts and benefits for our members. Do we have a member benefits table? No. So we're going to go over those, I believe. Bring a friend next month. You get a free month if they join. You get a free month if someone joins, no matter when you bring them. It doesn't have to be next month. You can bring them to Dealmakers meeting this Wednesday. If they join, you get 1 month extension of your membership. And we are on all those things, Facebook and Twitter and stuff. We have a bunch of business associates at Georgia REIA. We refer to most of them as investor friendly, which means hopefully you're not paying retail prices and they're used to working with investors, and they can help you in rehabbing, they can help you in finding financing. We have some lawyers. We have Atlanta Housing Authority, desperately looking for Section 8 housing, by the way, the last I knew. Atlantic Property Management, we have negotiated a pretty good deal with them as far as managing property. I think they get down as low as 6% if you've got enough properties. Auction.com is always represented. This is where you can buy auction property at the courthouse steps on the first Tuesday, or you can buy them off Auction.com's website. And it's a much saner way to bid and buy. Kurt, if Kurt were here, he'd tell you he's bought like 13 properties off Auction.com, okay? Braswell Capital, I saw is here tonight. Equitable Consulting, Rick Gerges is going to speak a little bit tonight. I don't think Mr. Hampton is here. I haven't seen him. But he's a tax guy. American Family, a lot of us do our insurance through American Family. Harlan and Associates, good closing attorney. Some more people that provide capital, Lima One, Paces Funding. Rent Marketplace, Pam Storm is usually here. She's not here. Pam will help you screen tenants. It doesn't cost you a dime when you use her services. The tenants pay. And any buy and holder, any long-term landlord will tell you, getting the right tenant is 2/3 of the battle. And yet that part can be done for free. I find that the biggest bargain in the world. But anyway, self-directed, we have several self-directed people here if you want to do self-directed IRAs instead of a conventional IRA. National Tenant Network also does tenant screening. Jenkins Construction is in the back of the room. He can do a rehab for you. Are we going to do do we have time to do the DJs? I'm not sure we got time. We'll see how we go here. So they're all in the back of the room. You were supposed to go with them, talk to them. If we've got time, we'll have them come up. How many BAs we got here tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go through the haves and wants first, guys. If we got time, we'll let you up, okay? Because haves and wants is very, very important. Volunteers, Donna Oberry, where are you? Ms. Donna Oberry told us Georgia REIA, as usual, is looking for volunteers. Georgia REIA is a volunteer organization. We have very few people that we actually pay. The rest of us are volunteers. And as usual, we need volunteers. So here you go.
Hi there, my name is Donna O'Berry, and I'm Secretary of the Board at Georgia REIA. And this is Jasmine, not Alice, I'll say it wrong.
Nanda.
Nanda, I always get it wrong. Anyways, Jasmine is our volunteer coordinator, so I wanted all of y'all to meet her. We, as usual, are looking for volunteers, but tonight I have some specific things. We're looking for people to be on the nominating committee, on the budget and finance committee, which are standing committees that we have all the time, and then an ad hoc bylaws committee. I'll start with the bylaws committee because that's the one that I'm going to chair. We need to rewrite Georgia REIA Association Inc.'s bylaws. They haven't been rewritten in years. They're sorely out of date. Like we're supposed to send out notices in snail mail and all that kind of stuff. So they have to be updated. We're looking for, let me see if I can remember. If we could get 5 or 6 names that we can pick 3 to 4 people from, I'd like a mix of some newer members as well as some older members. This activity I call kind of a nerdy event because we're going to be doing some research about what is best practice for nonprofit trade associations so we can get us into the 21st century. So it's that kind of stuff. The Leslie Vicier, who's our first vice president in charge of board admin, he's in charge of the nominating committee. And we're looking for, there again, 5 or 6 names with a mix of people, and we're going to be selecting 3 people. The nominating committee is the group of folks that looks for people who want to run for the board. So you're volunteers looking for other volunteers. So if you're kind of outgoing, you know a lot of people, you want to meet a lot of people, and that's kind of, you like talking to people, that would be a good spot for you. Our Budget and Finance Committee kind of reports, if you will, to our treasurer, who also couldn't be here tonight. And that is just what it says it is. It's a small group of people that's responsible for doing the association's budget, for monitoring it, and just for looking at our finances overall. So we're looking for 3 or 4 people there. Also names, and there's going to be some sign-up sheets. I'm going to leave them out on the table as you go out. Just put your name down there. Now, this is not a lifetime commitment. You can put your name down there and just say, I would like somebody to call me so I can find out more about this. And so when one of us calls you and you find out more and you go, not for me, that's okay. So after we get these 3 committee staff, we're going to start working on a policies and procedures committee, which is another nerdy event that Steve has already volunteered for. So Georgia Reese, no offense, you volunteered to work on the policies and procedures. Oh, a little bit. He didn't qualify that. Well, anyways, there again are the policies and procedures, and that's the stuff that operates Georgia REIA on an ongoing basis, both the staff and the volunteers and the subgroup leaders and all that kind of stuff. They need to be brought into the 21st century also. So if any of this stuff sounds like anything anybody would like to do, we really do need your help. Just sign up on your way out, and we appreciate it. And you'll hear from somebody.
Wasn't at least, right? I'm sure. You took almost that long at deal makers and you just touched the surface. All right.
Mr. Rick?
Thank you very much. So, Eldon Childress is your speaker tonight, and he applied a very strategic discipline to what he's done. And I'm going to say a couple of things to lay the groundwork on why I think he's well worth listening to. So, he's been working with us since May of 2018. His investments were all Section 8 houses, and they were at 13 caps. So, those of you who don't know what a cap rate is, or I'm sure all of you do, but if any of you don't, there's going to be a fundamentals course that Georgia REIA is going to offer where you can learn some of the basic ratios. We're not going to be able to answer those during this presentation. So, in May of 2018, Mr. C, also known as Eldon Childress, he had a $37.75 in net rental income. Fantastic passive income. He decided he wanted to step up his game. He went with a different approach. His investment property had a total of $275,000. Everything was free and clear.
Can you move around so we can see the screen?
Absolutely. Maybe. Can't see it. So he maintains a 13% cap rate. Steve, good time to use that laser pointer.
What? I'm sorry.
It's calculated by multiplying the profits annualized minus minimal expenses on that types of property. And
So it's $4,000 a month times 12, 45,000 a year minus 10K expenses.
That's right. That's a snippet of his application a year ago, or May of last year. So this was his pie chart when we first met him. Not much of a pie chart, right? Because he had no debt. Anyone that listens to Steve would hear him say a couple of times, stay leveraged, my friends. Spin off of staying thirsty. Staying leveraged is the fundamental of maximizing your profitability. We maintained a 75% leveraging percentage. Felicia didn't think I was from this planet when I tried to explain that to her, but later now recognizes the benefits of it, I think. All right, so with the newly acquired liquidity and staying leveraged, she was able to acquire 5 more properties over the next 9 months. By doing so, and keeping all other constants equal, increases income by over 91% in less than 9 months. So his income goes from $37.75 to $72.47. Now, that is an amazing accomplishment, because if you can double your income every 10 months, that has exponential consequences over just a short period of time. And here's his 5-year outlook. If he was to continue this pace at an average of 5 properties every 10 months, rounded, so I rounded this 3,700 down to 3,000 just to be conservative. In month 10, he's at 10 grand. Month 20, he's at 13 grand. Month 30, 16 grand. 19 grand in 40. 22 grand a month in 50. $25,000 a month in passive income within 5 years. So that's a fantastic goal. That's kind of why we are more of a buy and hold organization than we are a fix and flip organization, because this is stable and long-term and tends to win the race, as well as being sellable as a portfolio. It was late when I did these. I haven't actually read them since today, so you have to forgive me for not having them memorized. So if he acquires 5 properties at $100K in average, in 5 years he'll have 30 properties for a value of $3 million. Plus his current portfolio makes it $4 million, not considering appreciation. If all are continuously leveraged at 75%, then he's got $1 million in equity. Everyone follow that?
3 million alone, 1 million of equity.
Exactly. Now, in the next calculation, I believe we did a conservative 3% appreciation and took into calculation amortization. So really, when you factor in appreciation and amortization, that comes to exactly $5,387,205 at 3%. And the amortization takes it less than $3.8 million. So he's actually expected to have a $1.5 million equity position in 5 years, just based on that portfolio. I thought you were going to have a question. I was like, you can't ask me a question.
Alicia just went shopping.
So what I especially think is noteworthy about their business model is how it has almost little or no risk of the way they're doing it with Section 8 housing. So even if none of his buildings appreciate, he's not basing his future earnings off appreciation. He's basing it all off cash flow. And being that it's Section 8, it's pretty much safe and secure for the entire term of the loan. So even if his properties depreciated to half their value, that wouldn't have an effect on him for his long-term buy and hold strategies. Anybody have any questions about that? Yes, sir.
If his properties depreciated that much, Section 8 wouldn't be paying him the same amount of rent, because their rent will go down. If your property value, the shape of your property and its rentability goes down. So you've got to keep pumping money into the property in order to keep it at their standard.
That's a fantastic point of contention by our former president. Well beyond my expertise in the matter, and a fantastic opportunity for me to transfer the microphone to the featured speaker. All right. Well, maybe not. Maybe I won't do that just yet. Go ahead. You want to hold on? Let me give that question the proper attention it deserves. You want to answer that question for me, please? We'll come back to you. I promise. We'll come back to you. Go ahead and answer the question about the depreciation, because I have no idea.
Can we get VA's line up here, maybe? Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, that is true. You definitely have to keep your property upkeep, but a little bit differently. That what I like to do is I do pretty much 90% of the work myself. So when those updates are required, I'm typically the one going out there to make sure that all these things are being worked out and completed up to code. You know, and we typically like to stay in front of all those options because that is a.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Steve, was your question, if it goes below 50%, would the Section 8 awarding be revoked? Is that your question?
No, I'm talking depreciation as far as the looks and operability of the property, not mathematical depreciation on your tax return, because they don't care about that.
We have a Section 8 authority right here. It's Karen Young from the Section 8 program.
Right. So, okay. So there's certain physical, there's a certain physical expectation that you need to meet when the inspectors come out and do their annual inspection. Is what most public housing authorities are going to do. So, if the property just completely declines and it is no longer safe and sanitary, then yes, you have a problem. Now, when we talk about the rents going down, at least at Atlanta Housing Authority and at most, if you are not requesting any increases, any rent changes, then you at least stay where you are. We will not come in and just say, you know, we kind of check the market and it looks like it needs to go down $200 a month. But if you try to come in and get a $200 increase and you say, oh wait, the market went down $200 a month, then yes, your rent might change. So it's not automatic, but yes, if the property physically deteriorates beyond or below our standard, then the contract can end altogether. So that is a risk.
Karen, could you explain the boost?
Yeah, so that's specific to Atlanta Housing, but yes.
What's the question? The boost?
Yeah, Tracy was talking about the boost. So
Extra money if you got a HVAC.
yes, so if you upgrade the major systems, which are the plumbing systems, the electrical systems, and the insulation, which makes the property more financially feasible both for you and for our tenants. It brings down their utility costs, and you actually get a boost of $50 for each of those 3 systems.
$50 per month?
Yeah.
Also,
Oh, sure. Yeah. So just go ahead. Okay, so I'm Karen Young with the Atlanta Housing. We've been rebranded from Atlanta Housing Authority to Atlanta Housing, but we are the housing authority of the city of Atlanta. So we run a few different programs. We are actually a mixed-use, mixed-income developer. We own a lot of land in the city of Atlanta, and we have 6 major projects that are underway right now, and as well as some ancillary development projects. We run a down payment assistance program, and that is for anybody who earns 80% or less of the area median income. So if any of you guys qualify, you can actually qualify for up to $25,000 toward the purchase of a home in the city of Atlanta. And we also run a program called HomeFlex, which is sort of like a sister program to the Housing Choice program. Housing Choice Voucher Program is Section 8. Everybody rebrands. So the new term is Housing Choice Voucher Program from HUD all the way down to us. The voucher program is a subsidy that covers the difference between what a family who earns, they work, they have a source of income, they just don't make enough to pay what rents cost. Rents are constantly going up and salaries are not going up as fast. So as that gap grows, then we fill in the gap. So the benefit to property owners is that you can make the rents that you need to make in order to make your project feasible, and our families can avail themselves of all of this development and proximity to jobs and economic centers and all that stuff in the city. So that is essentially, those are 4 sort of major areas, and there are opportunities for you guys, not just as investors, but if you are developers, you own construction companies, you own companies that do business in the real estate market, it would behoove you to stay connected with us because there are also a lot of solicitations, open bids, and things like that you can take advantage of as well. So.
You still looking for landlords, right?
And we always need landlords. And in terms of landlords, if you have units, a lot of people think we need really large units, think we need big 5-bedroom units. We actually need more 1 and 2 bedrooms than anything because we assist a lot of seniors as the senior population continues to grow. Our population is aging just like the rest of the population. We also assist a lot of people who are disabled and veterans who were previously homeless. And so those a lot of times are 1-person households, and so we need lots of apartments, condos, and small homes. So just keep that in mind. And so you can call us if you need anything. Thank you.
I'm Robert Brissendine with American Family Insurance. This is Heather Beer. She works in our office with us. We specialize in buy and holds, which is obviously advantageous for this group. We also do fix and flips. If you're doing fix and flips, you need insurance for those. Or if you got vacant properties, we can do vacant properties as well. So we do all lines of insurance, home, auto, life. The only thing we don't do is health insurance, but obviously for this group, what you're probably looking for the most of is some sort of buy and hold insurance. One thing about our policies that I want to bring up for everyone is we do offer $2 million in liability on our policies as standard. It's not an extra charge for that. And I know as investors, liability coverage is what you're looking for the most part. Obviously you're looking for property coverage too, but liability is an essential aspect of that. The way you can reach us is 678, our phone number is 678-636-9444, 678-636-9444, and we're right here in the back, and we'll leave some business cards as well. Thank you.
I'm going to give you a plug.
I'm Bob Townsend. I'm with Auction.com, the Bidder Services Group, and I have 3 of my other colleagues back here, Michael McMillan, Sherry Aldridge, and Tanika Blocker. We go around and attend various meetings like this to inform the investing public about Auction.com and buying at the auction. We do live auctions on the courthouse steps here in Georgia the first Tuesday of each month, and we do auctions online as well. We do those every week. Just this past week in Georgia, we auctioned off homes in over 100 counties in Georgia. We sold $22 million that one day, just at the live auctions. We probably sold about $8 billion worth of properties last year, both commercial and residential. We bring 20 to 25,000 properties to auction in all 50 states every month. So there's always deal flow there. We plan to hold a breakfast briefing on March 3rd or so. We have some flyers back there. I'm sorry, March 2nd.
Saturday, right?
It's a Saturday, March 2nd. Please come, it's free. Some of you have been there, it's well worthwhile. We not only talk about the auction process, where you can save up to 40% against market. That's a mean number, which means some of the deals are not as good as 40% savings, and some of the deals are better than 40% savings. We'll talk to you about why you should not necessarily be looking for the cheapest possible deal, because it doesn't fit your investment strategy. We'll lay out scenarios for you in terms of people who have succeeded and what their strategies have been. It's all free, please come. I'm doing the presentation. It's the end-to-end process. I try to be a lot more entertaining than I am right today because I'm being forced to do this quickly. So, and I want to live up to my name of the other Robert Townsend. So please come, sign up. We'll send you an electronic flyer as well. come on down, and I think you'll really enjoy it.
Thanks.
All right, I'm going to be short and sweet. Hi everyone, my name is Arshia. I'm an account executive at Baker Collins & Company. We are a hard money lending firm based here in Atlanta. We're very close to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We lend anywhere from the west of Texas all the way to New York, cover the entire southeastern USA. We have many different loan programs for the seasoned investor and for the new investor. We do fix and flips, rentals, multifamily, commercial, portfolio loans, so you name it, we do it. We can satisfy your financing needs. My number is 404-620-4197. Thank you.
Okay, we'll get you.
Good evening. Good evening. Good Lord. Any of you, any of you interested in having a bigger retirement account? Yes or no? Can I see your hands? Yes, yes. Would any of you like a free American Gold Eagle in your retirement account for free? Yes, no? Okay, do
It's not a
this.
bird, this is a piece of gold.
It's a piece of gold. Text Eagle to that number. What it involves is you setting up a self-directed IRA, and that's it. Text Eagle to 833-212-2112. I've only got 7 of them, by the way. I've given away the rest of them. So if you want one, text there and we'll get you set up. That's all there is to it. I'm Brian Ellis with selfdirected.org.
Good evening. My name is Gary. I'm with Jenkins Construction LLC. We do total construction. We're certified in mold, mildew, mediation, also soil and erosion, and environmental. We also do all phases of construction. So if you need someone to help you out on inspections, mold and mildew, mediation, and to do your construction projects, to give you an estimate before you purchase your property or when you're thinking about looking at a property, we'll come out and evaluate it for you, and you can make some money that way. My number is 770-601-5654, and with the table at the very back next to auction.com. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike Braswell. I'm the Business Associate Director. So if any of you are, run a real estate business, related business, we certainly love to have you join us as a BA. Gives you access to, all the members that come every month, 17 different subgroups. So it's great exposure for your business. So please see Karen or one of the ladies at the front desk if you're interested in inquiring more about that, becoming a BA with Georgia REIA. Everybody here is vetted, so as members that you're not going to get taken advantage of, right? Nobody's going to burn you, nobody's going to take your money or do something fraudulent to you. So that's one of the benefits that you get with doing business with all of us here is that we've been vetted. I hear a lot of people are being taken advantage of right now in a number of different areas, and so here you have a peace of mind in knowing that that's not going to happen to you. And I'm going to round it out. I am Mike Braswell. I'm the owner of Braswell Capital Solutions. We provide financing for your real estate projects nationwide. For fixing and flipping, new construction if you're a developer, buying and holding, and commercial real estate. We also can get you money if you need money for down payment and closing costs. A lot of times investors have good credit, but they don't have enough money to get into a deal, and we can help you with that, okay? So we take all the excuses off the table. There's no reason why you can't get into real estate and really learn to make money in this business. I also have a monthly real estate networking event called Catalyst that I've had a number of you have attended. Next Tuesday on February 19th, we have Reggie Brooks. He's a national speaker coming in talking about how to find your fortune in vacant distressed properties. So come on out to that. It's at the Hudson Grill in downtown. It's a lunch meeting from 11:30 to 1:30. $35 this month to get in. We feed you. Great education. We talk about what's going on in Atlanta. We have a deals and dollars if you're a wholesaler. So it's just a lot of great information in the room. We're not trying to sell you anything, so definitely come on out for that. I have flyers here if you're interested, and also have business cards. If you'd like to reach me, you can call me at 1-800-577-1959. If you got a deal you need financing for, let's talk about it. If you need it pre-qualified, we'll help you with that as well. So please give us a call and look forward to doing business with all of you.
We had a suggestion we take a 5-minute break so people can sign up for the volunteers. That makes me nervous, so sign up and come back, please. Those of you who don't want to sign up, you can just stay here and network.
So we are a nonprofit organization. I'm a volunteer. I put together some of the education curriculum. Steve's a volunteer. Kurt's a volunteer. Most everyone you see is a volunteer. We have a couple salaried employees. And the volunteering is what drives the organization and makes it what it is, the type of free, no hitches attached information organization that we are. Now, we will occasionally sell you something. There are national speakers that fly here, and to fly to Utah would cost $20,000 for, of course, any one of you to fly to a state to put on a weekend presentation. We would have to pay you something. So most of these national renowned speakers have a cost to cover their hourly time, but it's not something that we're embarrassed to promote the prices for. There's nothing off the chart expensive with us, I can tell you that. That's different about us. And so volunteer is my point.
Yeah, we just did Rick Stoltz was not here, Pam Storm was not here, myself just did a condo course this weekend, 6 hours of picking a lot of brains, and it was $129 if you registered early. That's the kind of stuff we like to do. Haves and wants, we got one, have and wants? Sure.
Thanks. Ebor, I'm an investor and contractor. I've got a property in Ormwood. It is a 4.2, 2,100 square foot Victorian. Property address is 1031 Delaware, and I'm asking $305 for it. If anybody's interested, just come see me after the meeting.
How much work is the ARV?
ARV is low 600s.
And it needs how much?
Approximately 110, 120,000.
Historic district or not?
Yes.
Historic district. Very cool.
Where are we? That's all the haves and wants we got. We had all the BAs up. I gotta follow the routine here. See what we got. I think Mr. Elgin just has the floor now, right? We did that. You still wanna take a break?
Well, we're on the rest of our break.
Okay.
You know your mic's on.
I know my mic's on, so I'm talking to you. Okay, 5-minute break, and then Mr. Elgin will come on up, okay? Let's rock and roll. We're going to go through some of the upcoming events really quickly. We're going to double team it. I'm going to talk about these, and Rick's going to talk about Anthony Chara coming in and some other stuff going on. So, we have our traditional fast start or flipping boot camp. It's a 3-day thing. March 1, 2, and 3. This is the one. Can we have a little quiet back there, please? I'm sorry. This is the one where you get on a bus and actually drive around and look at rehabs and different stages and so forth. I want to talk about this one because this is mine, the Mastering Passive Income course. I'm working already, putting together another one. And people have asked me to dumb it down and leave the math out and stuff like this, and I'm trying to comply with that. I'm trying to tell you what to do. And if you want to see the numbers and see why, you go to the appendix kind of thing, okay? Guys, please, you've been asked to quiet down, second time, thank you. So this is a 4-day course. It begins April 13th. Hopefully that's a Saturday. It's a Saturday and a Sunday, and then in May we do 2 more Saturdays, and then everybody's entitled to 3 one-on-ones. I suggest you do one on your real estate portfolio, one on your stock portfolio, and one on your overall goals and budgeting, and am I on the way, and when can I get there, okay? I'm a certified financial planner by training. I have an MBA in finance. I've been retired for 17 years. I've learned how to use real estate and passive income and stock market and all that to survive quite nicely, if I must say, okay? And wholesaling program with Shannon that got pushed back, that's going to start in June. That is a 90-day coaching program. This is, I think, is about 1,000. Mine is like 500, 600. I'll leave the exact price in the Georgia REIA. We have 19 subgroups per month that are included in your membership, including Deal Makers, which I'm hosting this Wednesday. Deal Makers is a cool one to go to, but you practically have to be full-time to do it because it's 10 to 12 on a Wednesday. But that's where you see the people who actually own real estate, the movers and shakers, and deals being offered and that kind of thing. The second Monday of the month is the calendar. I guess the next one, March 11th, is that when Anthony's coming? Yes. Okay, Anthony Charr is like the top-rated national speaker. To get him is hard to do. And I guess we've got him, and he's coming. And with that, I'll give it to Rick.
How many of you guys are interested in apartments? Okay, Anthony Charr is the leading recognized speaker on apartment buildings by national REIA. We tried to book him, I started trying to get him 8 months ago, and we finally got him. His boot camp is probably going to be a couple $1,000s. And again, that's relatively inexpensive. You know, there's no one in here trying to Than Merrill you out of your life savings for $40,000. You know, it kind of just covers the expenses of the REIA and our speakers. In April, we have Jean Guerrero, who's the recognized authority on senior housing. So it's a senior housing transformation speaker, and that's Anthony Guerrero in April. We're also going to have a fundamentals for those of you that are looking to get into real estate and want to understand the basic ratios. There's going to be a monthly fundamentals class that's going to cover cap rates, debt service coverage ratios, loan to values, asset utilization, leveraging, the basic conceptual things that you'll need to implement strategies in the near future. That'll be coming as well on a monthly basis, called the fundamentals class. I'm going to go back to see if there are any questions that were missed from the success story, and then I'm going to hand the mic to the presenter for the evening. Were there any questions? I feel like I neglected to answer some questions earlier when we passed over from the success story. Did anyone have any questions? Speak now or?
Yeah,
yes, sir.
The financing you offered, was it 30-year fixed, and was it based upon the collateral, or was there contingencies?
So,
the second question is, the Section 8 tenants, do they tend to stay longer than regular tenants or regular rental houses?
So the financing that we did in his case was a 10-year arm. Now, I didn't introduce myself as a BA. I own a mortgage company, and one of the packages that he's going to be able to do in the near future is consolidate all his apartments into all his quads and multifamily units into Fannie Freddie financing at 4.5. I'm thrilled to be a part of that type of financing. And so right now, he doesn't have the loan volume, which is $1 million, to exercise that engagement. So right now, 10-year fixed hybrid arm is plenty of time for him for his 5-year strategy and to get into a $1 million plus Fannie Mae consolidation loan at a much lower interest rate. Any other questions? No? Okay, wonderful. Mr. and Mrs. Childress to talk about Section 8 housing.
How y'all doing tonight? Once again, my name is Elgin Childress. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you guys to talk.
I got it. Here I come.
Got some technical difficulties. Speaking in front of you guys about an opportunity that I think is very important for investors, new investors, seasoned investors. Just in doing my time and talking with a lot of other investors such as myself, we found out that there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misunderstandings about Section 8, whether it's from the tenant standpoint, whether it's from the financial standpoint, just the whole program in itself. And that's what made me really want to get up here and talk to some people and just share some information and possibly help people see a new opportunity with their investment properties. So this is just right now we're just going to do a brief introduction about the whole Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. And we'll have some questions at the end in case somebody wants to ask them. And then, like I said, we also have a seasoned, actual person that works for the Section 8 department in the Atlanta region. So it'd be more, for you investors that are in the Atlanta area, it would be more concrete information geared towards your property location. You almost got me there. I almost said left. It's going to be a brief introduction to Section 8. There we go. Just to go over the objectives of today's presentation, we're going to have a history, talk about the program, talk about Section 8 tenants, also talk about what makes a tenant eligible for the Section 8 program, the landlord responsibilities, and then just cover a couple myths that a lot of people have about what they're actually required to do with their properties and what's going to be the requirements for them to continue, being a landlord for Section 8. And then just close with some pros and cons, and then, like I said, we'll do some questions at the end for anybody that has any questions. All right. Well, I don't actually remember the dates from the history. Oh, there we go, right there. All right. I'm a PowerPoint guy, so I mean, sometimes it can be death by PowerPoint, but just to briefly go over this part, obviously, as you can see, in 1937, the Housing Act was focused on housing programs to really help generate people that had needs and needed a place to live, just to help them bring up their standards. 1970, obviously, the public housing stock stood at around 1.2 million units, which is a lot of units for the government to run. So by the mid-70s, that's kind of when they started branching out to personal landlords, private landlord owners, just to help it be a little more streamlined, to help it be a little more conducive and run better than the government just doing it all by themselves. It became the Section 8 Act, project-based with 20-year contracts. That's more of the big programs that they were running. But going forward, they really wanted to focus on a lot of landlords privatizing it just to make it more personal and more face-to-tenant contacts. That's kind of the way that we understood it coming up by the program, to get in front of the tenant, to really help them meet you, just to make that both you guys are a match. Because when you rent to a tenant, whether it's Section 8 or not, you're actually becoming some sort of business partners. And if you both can't agree on things, the partnership is not going to work, and it's going to be disastrous in the end. So I take it that's why they really went towards privatizing it a little bit, because, just to develop that relationship. Because a lot of public housings, when there's no private entity, it's just the government, I guess they looked at that as, that can be kind of problematic. Who do you complain to, when you're having issues or when things are going wrong. Okay, program today. Obviously, Section 8 is one of the largest rental subsidy programs in the country, with 2.8 million tenants-based units authorized. They have a ton of projects, ton of opportunities, ton of locations for people to take advantage of. The highest states that really don't include us is New York and California. This is just more information about, the HUD programs, privately owned housing institutions. Just really giving some information. I'm not going to go over the complete slide, but just giving information on how the program evolved into what it is today and what led it to be this program it is today. More program specifics, just really going over more of how the program evolved to today. This housing was authorized use of money. Just basically all this is showing is what you guys can attach yourselves to by having a Section 8 tenant. It's a very strong program, and it's going to be here for the long run, obviously. Just more information on, the voucher programs, how many people are available for this program as of 2003. Basically, my point of showing you guys all this information is to basically tell you that there are a lot of funding and a lot of opportunities. And like Karen said earlier, the tenant pool is greater than the properties available. So with knowing that, it's kind of how we build our strategy around how we manage our current properties. The income eligibility for rent calculation. This is a critical thing to really look at. It kind of helps you break down how each tenant is factored into what they're going to be able to afford versus what your rent is. Each one of these things are based on, it's different in every county. So what may be acceptable in Atlanta or Fulton or Gwinnett County will be different in Butts, Newton, and Rockdale County. So you definitely want to know this mathematics just to see what the standard is for a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, or a 4-bedroom in your area. It's definitely going to help you with strategizing what properties you want to invest in, or if it's 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. This will help you know what you can expect from Section 8 as far as what you're going to get automatically paid for. So it's income-based rent. Rent is calculated at 30% of adjusted income, minus the HAS established utility allowance. So basically, that's how they get to, I don't know if you heard, some people pay, sometimes Section 8 pays 100% of the rent. Sometimes the tenant will say they pay $50 or $100. This is how they come to that income. And I have all these slides available as well as other information. So if anybody needs anything, you can email me. Now this is who qualifies, the eligibility again, just continue. Income eligible, primarily based on income adjusted for family size, like I was speaking to earlier. Once again, the income of 75% of the new admissions into the program must be under the 30% area median income. Just other critical information that you want to know when you're choosing these properties that you want to go into. Because once again, like Karen had just said, the Section 8 tenants, in my opinion, are a lot more stable. And then when you really meet the good tenant and you have that good relationship with the property, they can last for years. Some of our tenants have been with us for 5, 6 years. And the other best thing about it is, the second business day of every month, the payment is always there. You're not chasing tenants down. You're not looking around for your payments. You're not hearing all these excuses and everything that you deal with. It kind of streamlines the service for, just to really focus on the tenants, how the tenants doing in the property and keeping the property up to date. And then now here's a pie chart of who does the federal assistance help. So you see 11% is adults, childless, 39% is going to be adults with kids, 1% is elderly with kids, 29% is just the elderly, and then 4% is disabled. And you can see, but this is just a good breakdown of what type of tenant pool you can expect to see when you're listing your property to be Section 8 rent. Now I'm going to pass it to my wife.
Felicia Childress, I do a lot of the paperwork with, I handle all the Section 8 things. Elgin does most of the maintenance and things like that. I was going to talk about some of the common myths that you guys heard about before we went to the slide. But since it's up here, we'll just kind of go ahead and touch bases. I know, like I said, a lot of people don't know what, a lot of people don't know what to expect with dealing with Section 8 because, you get on the internet, can say 1,000 different things. Your friend could have a good experience, they could have a bad experience. But as Elgin was saying, you can have a bad experience with any tenant. So I just wanted to touch over some of the common myths. I've heard that people say that the program costs too much. Actually, the program is free. They even have it on their website where you can list your properties for free. Now, in order to get it up and running, it may cost a little more because they may be a little more particular on the unit and what you have done to the unit versus someone who, say for example, if I rent it to Joe Adam, he's not gonna go in there and check to make sure the GFI code, by all the water. You know, he's not gonna check that. He's not gonna make sure there's not paint on the outlet. You know, those are the type of things that Section 8 is gonna have to be up to code for you to be eligible for the program. So maybe a little more upfront, but those are things that you just, it's like with any investment, you gotta put in to get out. And that goes back to saying how it's difficult to get approved. That's not true. Just take care of your unit. You wanna have tenants in there, take care of it. You know, if it was me, I treat my tenants how I wanna be treated. If I was living there, you know, you would want someone to take care of the property as if you were living there. I mean, obviously their house is not like my house, but you still want them to have somewhere nice to live. Quality of potential tenants. Section 8 tenants, I mean, for me, I'm not gonna say I've been lucky, but my tenants are actually great. You know, like Elgin was saying, as far as the timeline, a lot of Section 8 people are elderly. They're not looking to keep packing up and moving every year or two. They're looking for someone stable to be long term. So, I mean, that's good for me. And, you know, like he said, all of our Section 8 tenants, they've been there a long time. And they say that you cannot evict them. It's not true. The lease abides like it would with anybody else. You pre-screen them just like you would any other tenant. If they don't abide by that lease, you know, they can't be evicted. And the good thing about it is, which is you kind of have like a little holder over them, is if they do get evicted, they lose their Section 8. And anybody on Section 8 typically needs it, and I'm assuming that they're going to do what they have to do so they can keep their Section 8. So just make sure when you're writing these leases that you know, dot your I's and cross your T's as if you would with anybody else.
Is that all right to ask?
Sure.
Yeah, so what is y'all's criteria for leasing?
Can we answer that right when we get to the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Do you use your lease or does Section 8 provide you?
You have to use your own lease, but the Section 8 website, the DCA website is a good learning tool. You go on there and they do have like common questions and forms and things like that, but it's just like with any other tenant. You use your own screening and you use your own lease. Sure.
I would like to add one thing. So some agencies are going to have an agreement that spells out your responsibilities to them and to the tenant that they specify. But you can have a lease that is more stringent than that always. Or if there are some things that maybe are not covered in what the agency's document covers, you're always welcome to make something.
Right, so for us, now that is new. Now they have a landlord responsibility. It's pretty much the basics that you have to sign, but I also do a separate lease as well.
Yes, and you should.
Yeah. Okay, so the landlord responsibilities, I use a third party, you know, it's a la carte. You can type on there, you can click on what you want to pay, you email it to the tenant, and then they have to pay for it. And you know, the big thing for us is no evictions. Whether it's Section 8 or not, I stay away from evictions. I know it's a thing called life, stuff happens, but you know, that's one of the big rules for our company is no evictions. They expect you to comply with the fair housing laws, that's with anything. Maintain the housing unit, as we talked about, you know, just, if you read the code, they just say decent. You know, to each their own, you know, for us, the way we do things, we find properties that they're not livable. We go in, Elgin's the guy eyes, he wants to put the new roof, the new windows. I come in there, I'm the woman eyes, I'm like, oh, it needs new countertops, or the faucet's that, or, you know, so I think for us as a team, we just like to make our property a certain way. But that's not all required by Section 8. They really just ask for the simple basic stuff, that the place is safe and it's not hazardous. That, so like they ask you to comply with the terms of the HAP contract, same type of thing, you know, that you would as a landlord tenant. And they ask you that, you know, you collect the rent from the tenant. So some tenants, like I have a few tenants that Section 8 pays their entire rent. You know, and I put in my contracts that I do a 90-day walkthrough, just because with those tenants, you may not even see them unless there's a problem, because Section 8 is giving you your money every month and they don't have to give you anything, but I like to keep up on the unit as well on my own, so I put that in there. And then you have tenants that will pay a portion of it. So like she was saying, a lot of the tenants do have jobs and they work, they just can't afford to live. So Section 8 will pay a percentage of it, and then they pay their percentage of it. And with their percentage, the same rules apply. So say, for example, I give them the same, I give them to the 5th. I don't care if it's $100 or $50. You have to the 5th to pay. Anything after that is late, and then you start accruing late fees as I would a person who pays full rent. These are just a couple pros and the cons. You know, I think we've all talked about it, and everyone hears, you know, you get guaranteed money. You know, it used to be, you used to get your money, like say for the first bill on a Saturday, you used to get it on the 30th or 31st, but now they have changed it to where you get it the second business day of the month, which is still better than having to drive around or look for the tenant, knock on the door, hey, you got my money, rent's due, did you forget again? You know, your money is there every month, no questions asked, there's no looking for it. Long-term tenants, they say...
Can I get some clarification?
Sure.
Maybe I missed this, but with...
Sorry if I'm talking too fast, I haven't done a PowerPoint
Just
so
need some
long.
clarification on how the rent is paid. So does the government pay a portion of it and the tenant pays a portion?
It depends, you have different ones. So just a prime example, I'm just gonna give you two different examples. I have a tenant, she pays nothing, zero, I have a couple tenants, they pay $0. Section 8 pays their entire rent.
And then just arrives on the second like clockwork?
Yep, like clockwork.
And for the tenants who are paying
Mhm.
it, does the portion that the government is paying come to you directly or to the tenant and then to you?
Just give you an example. So say, for example, I have a unit, $700. Section 8 pays $600, and the tenant pays $100. So every month, she has to the 5th to pay that $100.
Got it. But
And the other 700 is directly, anything that's coming from Section 8 will be directly to your account.
Okay.
Did I clarify that?
Yeah. Do you have problems with the tenants that are paying some portion of their own, or they pretty much pay?
I mean, the highest portion that I have is maybe 186, and I never have problem. There's a thing called life. Life happens. You know, things happen. People get sick or get hurt, and you know they may not can pay their rent. But my biggest thing with me that I deal with my clients is communication. You know, so if you communicate with me, I communicate with you. We're on the same page. But I haven't had a problem. Like it's normal because the portion is so low. You know, and they do offer utility reimbursement. I personally don't touch on that because I never know how much the utility is going to be, so I don't touch on that part.
And then once again, I just want to touch on an important part of what we're saying is that, you know, what we didn't really touch on, we're going to be doing another class on a Saturday, but what we didn't really touch on is making sure that relationship is strong. I cannot harp on that enough. I mean, you're talking to the guy that's actually busting up the concrete, fixing the copper pipes that were stolen. So I know how hard it is to do these things. I don't want to just put anybody in there that's going to do the same thing. So you have to make sure the relationship is strong, whether it's Section 8 or self-pay. I mean, the relationship has to be strong. I mean, if there are any investors, and that's one of the things that we like to screen on. You know, we practice screening people because, as you know, in life, you know, people will tell you who they are, you know, if you give them enough time. You just got to look for it. So, I mean, that's a huge part. You know, you can fill all your units. If you got 100 units, you can fill them all up with Section 8 and just walk out the door. But if only 30 of those tenants are, you know, actually good for your business, then the other 70 will ruin the properties anyway. And then during your inspection time, are we going to go over inspections today? Then during your inspection time, if the refrigerator handle is broken off from, you know, one of their kids visiting, and yeah, that's on the Section 8 tenant's fault, but they'll send a letter, and if somehow that letter gets lost in the mail, you know how things happen, they're going to give you time to fix it. But if you don't fix that in time, or if you lose a letter, or if a letter gets lost in the mail and things go by and you don't meet that date, they're not going to pay. You know, you're going to lose a month's worth of rent.
Well, just to touch on that. I'm sorry, we're kind of team working over here. But just to touch on that with the inspection, if you say, for example, a prime example, we had a light, paint on a light switch. We didn't really think that, never thought it had got finished. And they give you 30 days to fix it. Then they go back out, and if it hasn't been done, they'll put the property in abatement. And then you have 60 days to fix that. And when it's in abatement, you can't accept rent from the tenant, or they won't pay rent. Or just say for example, the light switch, you swap it out the next day, you call them, they'll start paying rent from that day. Did I kind of clarify that, but I don't want to confuse anybody, because we were going to touch more on that, but since he mentioned that, I just wanted to piggyback off the inspections. Everyone okay with that? Yeah? No? Okay.
So you lose rent for that 2 or 3 days it took to replace that light switch?
Yeah. It can happen. That's why he was telling you that they send a letter to the tenant and they send you a letter as well. So whatever address you use, if you have a business address or P.O. box, make sure you're checking it. It's not just, it's look to any job, it's a little work.
What if the damage is caused by the tenant?
That's the way, we had the issue with the header.
Yeah, that's a great question. Even if the damage is caused by the tenant, it still has to get fixed in that time frame.
By the landlord?
Or the tenant, but if it's not fixed, they're not paying, and there's nobody to argue to, it's gone.
That's why you get a security deposit up front, and if you have to, you just take it out of that.
Well,
Yes, I mean, in general, yes, that's absolutely true. I was just gonna add just some nuance.
Okay.
Some agencies are still using paper. There's some, and the industry in general is moving more toward using technology better. So like for Atlanta Housing, you would get a notification through your portal. So you would get an immediate notification, so it's not a 3 or 4 day delay. So there's some agencies who do things the same. Everything you guys have said is spot on, but there might be just some differences in the days of the delivery of the notification. So just take that into consideration, look for that.
yeah, that is very true. Atlanta, is a little, we're in Rockdale, Newton County, Butts County, further out in the, away from the city, so things are a little more modernized there. Us, we have a stack of letters that thick from DCA, and if you miss one, that's just one of the things we want to keep you track of. So let her continue.
We kind of, talked about the lease and, that they must comply with the lease. As far as you are obligated to apply with your landlord responsibility that you have signed. And we kind of jumped ahead and talked about inspections. I put inspections on both pros and cons because you can look at it as a pro because now you have somebody who goes in there twice a year and inspects your property free of charge. And then they give you time to fix it. It's not like, hey, this is wrong, we're not going to pay you. And then you have some people who don't want to, put the money in, and they look at it as a con, like, oh, I have to fix this, or oh, I have somebody looking at every little detail I do, they're complaining about this. So you could look at it as a pro or a con. That's why I put it on both sides. Now, I will say this is a con for me, especially now that things, I know she will co-sign for this, things are changing with Section 8 a lot. And now the approval process is a lot different. It used to be the tenant would have a caseworker. They would meet you out there. She would inspect it that day, and she would tell you right then and there if you were approved or passed, and you could sign a lease, and they can move in right then and there. Now it's different. The caseworker has their load, and inspection people are different. So it can take some time. So the process now, and correct me if I'm a little off, but the process now is once, say for example, let me just clarify, if I find a Section 8 tenant, I don't just go with any Section 8 tenant because they're Section 8. I still screen them like as another, and I try to normally get a couple Section 8 tenants to choose best from. So what I was saying as far as the approval process. Once you fill out all the paperwork, you have to fax it in and send it. The caseworker will get it. It will take a couple days. It could take up to 7 days or 14 days. It's not 7 days. They do approval process, and I'm going to give you guys a prime example. I'm big on examples. I had a unit. It was a single lady. She didn't have kids, and she wanted this big unit. Now, her told me she thought that her voucher would be for $900. I'm going to go straight into numbers. It'll be 100%. $900 was what the unit was. And she thought, yeah, that's fine. Finally, after it took us a while to get a hold with her caseworker said that she only qualified for $849. I mean, she was a good tenant, she was clean, she had already paid her deposit. Now with that, I decided, the $51 a month was worth me taking a $51 less a month, knowing that I have a good tenant that I'm going to get every month for. So those are type of things, that could happen. But back to the approval process, that is the biggest con, and I will say that. It can be tedious, it can take a long time. It could be anywhere from 30 days to 60 days is the max of the 60, or is it longer than that, probably 90?
Well,
It varies. Not Atlanta, okay. Well, like I had one.
in less than 2 weeks, 7 days really. So.
Oh, well, that's great, because I meant, when I say that, I meant the completion of everything for you to get your first check.
Yeah, so it's still, ours is still about 28 days.
Okay, well, we recently had a bad experience with that, and it did take us a little longer, but in that meantime, so when they come out there and they inspect, we're always there. And if it's something little, Elgin is there, and she's very nice, she'll let them fix it, even if it's something small, she says, just fix it, don't worry about it. And that day, you can still write up the lease, you can give them the keys, and they will backdate to that day. But sometimes it could take a while to get your check, but you're gonna get all of your money. So, you do get your money, but sometimes you gotta be a little patient for it. And that's not all the time, it's just sometimes. Tenancy approval rate, that's what I talked about when I said that they had to make sure they qualified. And like I said, had it been a lady who maybe had more kids, she probably would've, I could've probably got $950, $1,000 for the place. But since it was just her, you know, the highest she could get was $849. Inspections we talked about. Section 8 does not pay security deposit. So make sure, same thing, I need a security deposit. And, you know, I have worked with people in the past because I know that they sometimes, you know, are having financial difficulty, and I know my money is guaranteed every month, so I will break up the Section 8. I mean, I will break up the deposit and I will work on it, but I do need a deposit.
Yes.
I was just going to comment on that, on my experience. So I have a tenant who's part of Atlanta Housing, and yeah, even though you don't get a security deposit, they do offer up to $2,000 if the tenant does major damage to your place. So you can get it on the back end once the tenant is done.
Is that for Fulton County?
See,
No, for
Atlanta.
Atlanta is totally different.
yeah, see, like I said, I'm gonna say it again, you know, each county, it seems that they have a different set of criterias that they can abide by. We don't, like Atlanta is by far, you know, you know, they're the most technically sound. But, you know, these are just other Section 8 reform programs that they have. But yeah, another thing, like I was saying, when we do another class on Saturday, what some of the things that we like to harp on is the screening process. And I know she touched on it, but sometimes it'll take us, you know, 20, 25 interviews. You know, that's a lot of time, but we do this full time. But like I said, you'll continue to hear me say this to make sure that relationship is strong. Sometimes it may take 25 interviews, but that just goes to show, like I've always heard that, you know, from different investors that, you know, when you get a Section 18, you have to stick with that first one. Or they'll come in a bus or something with like 5 or 6 people, and you got to choose from them. You know, it's really not like that. You really can have your choice. It's just like screening any other self-pay tenant. If it doesn't work, you know, you can move on and wait, you know, before you allow somebody to move in there. Yes.
I recommend in your screening process, I've done this, I have with Atlanta Housing properties, and I use the portal a lot, which y'all have a problem with y'all portal out there, but our portal with Atlanta, you basically go in, the tenant can do it, you can do it, it goes back and forth, and the processing isn't long. But another thing that I do when the tenant does come to my property, I ask them to bring their kids. I ask them to bring who's going to be staying in the house with them out to the property, so I can see how their kids act in my property. I'm just being frank. Yeah. You pull it on stuff, you grab it on stuff, I'm looking for the next person. Because that is the stuff that you're going to have to get out. And Atlanta Housing Authority, Atlanta Housing will tell you, hey, you got to screen your tenants. That's you. Because they'll tell you that over and over again when you go down there, you got to screen your tenants. And so I have them come out with their kids and say, hey, which room Johnny gonna be in, Sally? Go ahead, look at it. And if they cool with it and the kids are cool, that's my green light. Oh, okay, I'm gonna look at you a little bit harder than I look at the ones who are pulling on the blinds and, you know, climbing on, you know, the toilet seats and seeing what's up at the top of the cabinet. So there's just some process that you can go through just to help you out a little bit.
But just remember though, you know what, if your property is not kid friendly, you don't have to rent to, you know, a tenant with kids. Still up to your choice.
A lot of elderly
yes.
people need Section
a lot of us do a visit to the current residents to see what your house is gonna look like several months after they move in.
Yeah, that's a good.
And that works very well. You discover pets that they don't volunteer, and the way they treat the house, and their housekeeping. You know, do they own a vacuum cleaner?
Yeah, that's a good one right there. Yeah. The eviction process is going to be the exact same with the self-pay tenant. See, that's a lot of people think that it's this different strategy, it's this different set of rules, but it's really not. You know, if they're not abiding by or holding up their end of the bargain, per whatever your county is, whatever the rules on housing is in your county judicial system, you know, the eviction process is the same. And now, if a Section 8 tenant is evicted, they lose their voucher, you know, which is a very impactful thing for a lot of people right now. Now, if they don't care, then that just tells me you picked the wrong tenant in the first place, once we go back to the relationship thing. But a lot of people actually care about losing their voucher because, you know, I don't know what the time length to achieve a voucher is in Atlanta, but in Newton and Rockdale County, the waiting list is tremendous. You know, it's a long time to get that whole process completed. And
there are like 26,000 people on the wait list right now. So and there are like 180,000 who apply, so there's somebody waiting to take their spot. I was going to add one thing to what you said. So we had a problem at one point with property owners who had issues with their tenants. So an eviction, obviously, we would find out about because they're no longer on the lease, right? Yeah. But if you're having other issues, or if you're having a file on them and it doesn't complete, you have to communicate with the housing authority so that we know that it's a problem tenant. If you're having issues, because otherwise, I mean, we can't manage, you know, 25,000 families. We don't know what's going on in every household. So that's why it's really important for you guys to communicate with us. And for the most part, yes, they'll be evicted. They'll be kicked off the program if they're evicted, unless there is some extenuating circumstance. Somebody had a kidney transplant and they were in the hospital for 6 months, and that's different. You know, we probably wouldn't evict them. Yeah.
As a landlord, you have to continuously come to the property for maintenance property.
Right. So this is not working, but yeah. So it's the same in general. That's not working. So it's the same in general.
You have all the same rights, and that's why it's really important for you to add your lease on top of whatever we give you, whatever the housing authority gives you, so that you can specify, you know, when rent is due. We don't say you have to collect rent by the 5th, right? So you might give them to the 15th, but you might only give them to the 3rd. So whatever it is that you want to specify, you got to be really clear about that and enforce your lease and do it in a timely way. Don't let it pass your 6 months, and then you know. But that would be if it was a market tenant also. But that was just the caveat. If you communicate with us, then we can deal with the bad seeds a lot faster.
Yeah. Yes.
How does a government shutdown affect your business?
That is a great question. And a strategy like ours, that's a real serious issue. You know, I mean, well, obviously you should be managing your finances. Well, when you get up in the high ranks, like we have a 20 doors, so when you get over 10 Section 8 tenants, I think something happens, but yeah, so our payments are automatically deposited on the second business day of every month. So during the government shutdown, when funding cuts off, we are notified saying that, you know, your payments will be cut off until the government reopens. So when funding does run out with the government shutdown, that would affect our payments. Now, obviously, we're going to get, you know, we get all of our funds the same way everybody else does once the government reopens. But that is the one thing. I've actually never dealt with this before, but this is a new thing now. So, I mean, that is one thing to think about. That's a good question. Yes?
And that still depends on what municipality you're working with. Because there's some that are better funded than others. Some have reserves that'll last longer. Larger cities are going to have reserve. So like even during the shutdown, we would have been fine until the end of August. that doesn't mean, I mean, but still, it's not a year, you know what I'm saying? It's not a year from now, but that's better than, you know, to be continued, right? So.
Yeah, that's a good point. We were notified the funding ended for our counties in February. So I mean, just yes.
Your tenants, I know you were shocked to know that your tenant's brother is living in one of the bedrooms because that's a good paying job, right?
Yeah.
And that you just kind of overlooked that because that's about.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Your tenant rents the house from you and she's going to live there. Next month, her brother moves in. Do overlook that so that you don't mess up the numbers.
I mean, I'm not going to say, what he said was you rent to a tenant, she has Section 8, and then her brother with a good paying job moves into a room, you know, in the same unit, not paying anything. Would you overlook that? You know, we definitely like to keep everybody on the lease. Any adults that's going to stay there. You know, we haven't really encountered that. You know, I would have to check on that, what are the requirements.
So the housing authority answer is that is a violation of the lease, and if you allow it, you're also violating the program. We, once again, can't go into 25 or 30,000 households, but what tends to happen is that everybody keeps the secret until they get upset, and then they come and start telling about all these people who live there. And our question is going to be, well, why did you let them live there for 6 months if you knew that that was somebody who wasn't on the program? Because at that point, you're allowing them to abuse the system that we're all paying for, right? So we can't check. The answer is they are not supposed to be there, so you shouldn't allow it. But if you do allow it, then don't complain about it later, kind of. You know, it's that, you know, yeah.
Yes.
In your example where the rent was 700, the tenant's paying 100, how much was the security deposit, and how much is your late fee after the 5th, and when would you start eviction if the tenant didn't pay at all?
In that example, so for all of my units, Section 8 or not, deposit is always 1 month's rent. And that's a good portion of how, you know, they could mess up more than that, but that's a good security net to fix if anything was messed up. What was the second part of the question? Oh, so for me personally, you know, a lease can be whatever you want it to be. It's what you put in, but for me personally, I do anything after the 5th is $50. Anything after the 10th, I add an extra $100 on. And, you know, like I said, for me, and I tell all of my tenants, we're all human, but I'm big on communication. You know, I have a lady right now who works at Walmart, hurt herself, had her surgery, so she, you know, kept in touch with me, let me know she's going to be late, asked if she can pay her late fee next month. I'm completely fine with that. But if you don't talk to me and I don't hear from you and I'm looking for you, I'm on the 10th, I'm going to be at the courthouse. And, you know, the unfortunate part, depending again on the county, it could be backed up, or you could get in a week later, 2 weeks, 30 days. But like I said, for me, the biggest thing is communication. And like he said, you know, relationships, I mean, they're important with anybody you deal with, whether it's personal life or your business. So I just try to keep, you know, in communication with them and have a good relationship with all of my tenants.
So just to follow up on that, if you're only paying $100, a $50 late fee, that's a huge hit.
Yeah, well, I
all of a sudden it starts building, right? Because the 100 and the 50.
Yeah, well, that, you know, that's just my rules. You know, I have to go off the portion of what the rent is. I can't go off just what they pay because that's their portion. I have to go off the market value for the whole thing. And like I said, I'm big on communication. All of my tenants, I always give them one free time to pay late. You know, I don't tell them, hey, you got one free time to pay late. But in my mind, I know it's going to happen, and I always, it's okay, that's fine. But after that, you know, it's just kind of what it is. I mean, it may be unfortunate, but, you know, like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, and they're well aware of it. You know, like, when we go over our lease, we sit there and we go over and reread it together. They get a copy, I get a copy. You know, I want both of us to be on the same page, so I want them to know what I expect of them, and I want them to tell me what they expect of me. And that all goes back to building a strong relationship so you have long-term tenants.
Okay, yes?
What kind of cap rate are you experiencing across your properties?
That's a good question. We're in the middle of reorganizing things right now, as Rick was talking about. So, I mean, we're still, I keep a lot of detailed notes, so I mean, I really couldn't answer that right now. Yes, yes.
How long does your average tenant stay?
How long? I would say, what is it, 2 years?
No longer than that. On an average,
Oh, sorry about that. We signed 2-year leases, but our newest tenant is what, I mean, our we rarely have turnover. You know, it's rare. You know, we once a tenant comes and rents from us, it's usually for a long term unless something happens. You know,
I've had
unless
people with Section 8 that move back to New York, so they have to get, transfer their lease, so they leave. But like we were saying, I deal a lot with elderly people, and like she was saying, like we have a lot of smaller units versus big. We have a few big ones, but most of them are like 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And you get a lot of elderly people, because with Section 8, if you have a lot of kids, you wouldn't even qualify for that because of the space. And a lot of elderly people, it's a lot to move, even for young people. So no one's looking to move if they're happy. So I try to keep my tenants happy, so they'll stay.
Are your units single family or condos or townhomes?
multifamily duplexes. Yes. Any other question?
How are the market rents determined?
Generally, that's a good question. That's what the sheet is in my hand. I was going to ask some people. This is like what we like to do at the end of a presentation. Just ask people to throw out some counties that they invest in, typically outside of the Atlanta area. But if you have to, just any counties that you invest in. Whether it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom. Yes.
I'm in Cobbin. I just called Barry Housing and give me the zip code and tell what your unit is, and I'll tell you what the market rate for rent is in that area. So it's not as simple as a phone call.
Yeah.
It's online too.
Hold on. We gotta repeat the question or something. Where's your mic? Here we go.
Oh, it wasn't my question, it was my answer though. But
Oh, your
yeah,
answer.
so I
That's
live
even
in
better.
Cobbin, and I have a unit that I was curious on what the market rate would be for Section 8. And I called Marietta Housing, because that's over Cobb. And you give them your zip code and tell them what type of unit you have, and they'll tell you the amounts that they will pay. So, market rate.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things. That's one of the good things about doing your research before you go into a property. So, are there any other counties in here? Yeah. Yes.
I have a question.
Okay. Yeah. Question.
One question. So you all do a training, and if you do, how much is the training? Is that?
We're still ironing out the fine details right now, but yeah, what we plan on doing is actually doing more of an intrusive training on not just the Section 8 program, but screening tenants, developing relationships, identifying a property and what its potential is from a Section 8 tenant, and then just all the ins and outs of what you can expect on a month-to-month basis. Yeah.
I happen to have a Section 8 property that is for sale. It has a 3-year tenant, just signed, renewed the lease. Anybody has any questions, you can get my card.
Oh, yeah.
What area?
South side.
Yes.
Yeah, so 2 questions. Well, one is Bartow County 3-1, and then secondly would be, is the rent criteria based upon the number of bedrooms and then bathrooms, or is it strictly bedrooms based? Does it have to be a 3-2, or could it be a 3-1?
Typically, you're going to get more for more beds and baths. But Bartow County 3-1, the standard is going to be 1412. Now that's the standard payments. Let me make sure I'm not at 4 bedrooms. Yeah, so Bartow County.
Is there a website open?
Yeah, there is a website with all this stuff on it. Yeah, under DCA, but I think the 3-bedroom is starting at 1083 and the 4-bedroom is 1412. Those are just the standards on what that area will allow. So yeah, a lot of people's spaces changed, you know, but yeah, that's a standard for that area. So that's potentially something that you can ask for and rent. Yes.
When they come to do the inspection, what does the unit have to look like? Like, could it be furnished? Maybe you have a tenant that's moving out and now you want someone new, or does it have to be completely empty?
It doesn't matter if it's furnished or empty. If, like I said, everything is being chopped up now, so it's no longer the caseworker. You can get a guy come in there for an inspection with a full work bag, full tools, and ready to check every nook and cranny. Or you can get somebody come in there with their little electrical meter.
Real quick, babe, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think you're asking the initial inspection, yeah. She's asking for the initial inspection. You cannot move anyone in until the inspection has passed, so they cannot move in before. You can't have.
You're
An old tenant was there?
like it's the 29th, and
Okay.
they're moving out on the 1st, and you're trying to get this person in for as soon as possible, and so you're trying to, you know, get this thing moving, and they come in for the initial inspection before that tenant moves out, or they're in the process of moving out, and it's the last few days, and you're like, oh, there's an inspection date open, come on in.
I mean, you
do
can
that if
schedule,
there's people?
right, you can schedule, like, you know, we have done it to where we noticed that the scheduling for inspection was behind a few weeks. So we knew that we needed about a week left for renovation, so we called before we were technically ready to get on the list for them to come out. Yes, but they will not, you can't have someone else living in there for them to come out. You know, because when you come, it could take a while. You want to make sure you're ready. So you don't want to come and you haven't, and the other people have moved out and you haven't had a chance to check and make sure that things are up to code. And actually they give you, they're really helpful. The website gives you a lot of forms and stuff on there. There's an inspection list. It'll tell you exactly what they're looking for in each bed, in each kitchen, family room, electrical, all of that. We just go through that and we check it off and make sure, you know, we've done everything, so we make sure we're prepared. But like I said, most of them, I can't say all, are pretty, you know, they're pretty cool. And you know, when he's there, if it's something little, he'll fix it, and then she's fine with that.
But the property doesn't have to be completely empty. Like maybe
It can't
there's-
be furnished.
Maybe.
From my
people have
experience,
left.
Miss Karen, hey, real quick, she had a question in as far as inspections. I don't believe that you guys will come and inspect if there's someone else's furniture from the previous, is that the question? Yeah, exactly, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Is there a separate rental thing for furnished Section 8?
I don't know, I've never dealt with furnished Section 8.
Miss Karen.
Miss Karen, have you ever dealt with furnished Section 8?
There's some people, it would probably have to be like a development, and that is just furnished apartments, and there was like a pre-arrangement, but no, there's not really a market for it, because people do tend to have their own furniture. Now, if you're providing like, it may not be through the Section 8 program, but if you're doing like supportive housing, which is for those who are transitioning out of homelessness, or if you're doing emergency housing, if you have a partnership with the housing authority, then yes, it will be appropriate in those cases. But under the normal housing choice voucher program, no, not really. It's not really the market.
Did that answer?
You mean furnishings or appliances?
I believe she was saying furnished, yeah.
Furnishings, no, but appliances, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna ask, if you did fail an inspection, like, you have to put yourself appointment again, to be inspected, or do they come back and?
You
Yeah.
repeat the question?
He asked, if you do fail the inspection, what's the process? If you fail the inspection, then yes, you have to get another scheduled date for them to come out, which can backdate everything, and slower your date to be paid. So yes, you have to make sure you can pass the inspection. If it's something serious, like your water heater's not working, then yeah, they're gonna fail the inspection. Yes.
How do you market for Section 8 tenants? Do they find you or you find them?
That's a good question. We typically use gosection8.com, another good resource. You'll get tenants from it seems like all around Georgia, the state of Georgia, and Alabama, Michigan, New York, they'll call you from everywhere because, like we spoke to earlier, which we will touch on in more detail, is the value of the voucher program. And when your voucher runs out, Karen can attest to this. Once it runs out, if you don't use it, you'll lose and have to restart the program all over, restart the filing paperwork all over again, which can be an onerous process. So they typically want to rent pretty quickly. Yes.
Do you guys have inspectors that do pre-inspection, so when they come out here, like, you're on the green light?
He asked, do we have inspectors that? He asked, do we have inspectors that will do a pre-inspection before the official inspection from the Section 8 for the Section 8 people? We don't. I actually kind of, I talk with my DCA caseworkers for our area, and I kind of know what's required and what needs to be updated and fixed. So I pretty much do all that stuff before. I haven't really heard of anybody doing pre-inspections like Felicia said. Everything is listed on the website. Yes.
I believe the Cab County will do a pre-inspection, and in terms of pre-inspection, somebody just brought it to my attention, if you fail, then for most municipalities, you can just ask for a pre-inspection instead of having to go all the way.
Right.
Yes, yes. So DeKalb County, once again, Atlanta doing going above and beyond.
Well, there is like a checklist, and Atlanta has a box with listed of each thing for each room, what they're looking for. So you could hire like a maintenance man or somebody like that to walk through it with you to look at what he's saying is he does that for ours. So that's what, but it literally tells you exactly what they're looking for. We walk through there with that, check, yep, that's checked. Yes, the window's closed, they stay open, check, this works.
Yeah, they're not asking for unrealistic requirements of your property. Windows have to open and stay open. The temperature has to be controlled, whether it's with window units or HVAC. There can't be any trip hazards. Water has to work. Simple things. Not asking for, granted this, stainless steel that, but it is something that has to be managed. It can't just. A lot of times they use the term slumlords. It's really difficult to be a slumlord and have a bunch of Section 8 properties. Yes?
So why did you choose to go all Section 8? Do you feel in the long run you're going to make more money with less headache, or what's the analysis?
Sometimes when we move into a market that's been full of dilapidated properties, we find that, the previous owner was getting $400 in rent a month. And that's the type of tenant you would bring it in. When you increase the rent, you generally attract a more suitable tenant that wants to take care of the property. So we've seen that, and why we would go with Section 8 is because, the reason why I'm even up here talking to people is because it's an opportunity to eliminate, one of the major headaches with being an investor. Driving around collecting rent. They know me as the maintenance guy. So I hear all the ins and outs, all the stories, and all the time I hear people talking about the property manager, which is my wife, that they don't know. And I'm like, wait a second, I just talked to her about this property, and that's not the same story I got. So with our self-pay tenants sometimes, when I try to help other investors, I hear the stories from them. And I'm like, man, I know that guy, I don't think that's what happened. So you kind of eliminate the most, onerous process of collecting money, collecting the rent, and now you're just really maintaining the property. Other than a government shutdown, outside of government shutdown, your rent is pretty much going to be guaranteed. And don't forget, you sign a contract, you sign a HARP contract for the payments. You don't sign that with the tenant. You see, so that voucher is going to be attached to your property. So they just can't pick up and leave in the middle of the night. Like we've had a tenant, a self-pay tenant, one day they're there and then the next day they just disappear. And we're like, all right, is this guy okay? And the rent stopped, their stuff is still there. Well, most of it is, so we can't just go in there and change the locks. We have to go through the eviction process still. I won't say that's 100% eliminated, but it's pretty much eliminated with this program. But once again, it is something that has to be managed. But if you're willing to manage it, it can be a very good, asset for you with investing in rental properties. And, you know, like Ms. Karen said, you know, the tenant to property ratio is severely skewed. I mean, you list your property on GoSection8.com, you'll have 50 people calling to rent your property. Now it's up to you to make sure you pick the right person, but when you do, you know, it'll be rented for a long time and it'll be a much more enjoyable experience than just, you know, chasing somebody down every month for the rent.
And just to touch bases on that, when you list it on GoSection8.com, it's just not for Section 8. It generates to Trulia, Zillow, things like that, so you'll get all type of tenants, you know, not just Section 8.
Yes.
I was just going to add some more benefits, like, you know, I have a place through Atlanta Housing, and the rental rate is really very fair, very competitive, and if you think the market is getting more money, you can at any time ask for a rental increase. You justify it, and you know they'll accept it or deny it. And a lot of times that might be easier as a landlord to go through the process of going through the Atlanta Housing than, you know, sometimes people feel guilty. Oh, I've had this tenant in here for 5 years. I'm not going to raise the rent, you know, and you're missing out. Where you can still have that relationship with them, but you are asking Atlanta Housing to take care of, you know, because they're paying it anyway, most of it, right? And then another thing I was going to say in terms of financials is, you know, like Elton was saying, if they're staying there for a long time, they're not going to desecrate the property. And then also that 8% or whatever vacancy variable you put into your operating costs goes away. I mean,
yeah, completely, 100% occupancy for years. Well, until it stays occupied for 100%. You know, period. That's no longer, that problem is eliminated. You know, completely eliminated. Another thing though about raising the rent though, what you have to remember is when you put in that request, you know, which was
60 days.
Yeah.
Within 60 days. And now it says the reason it can't go from 700 to 1,000, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be reasonable. But then remember too, like, you know, if somebody's portion is $50 or $70, it's gonna make theirs go up. And it may sound minuscule to go from 70 to 80, but they may, you know, say something about that. That little $10 increase. Yes. Okay.
Marilyn, wait a second.
I'm a Section 8 landlord, and I was renting for like $800, I think, and I went in for a rent increase. They increased me to $1,100.
Yeah, I've heard that. Every time. That's it. Are you in Atlanta corridor as well? Fulton County. So another, yeah. We don't get that luxury out. You know, the property's cheaper out in the county, out in the outer county, but you know, to go up that much, I would wear at is.
We have a question from the.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes.
I was just gonna ask about the areas. Do you find it to be better outside of the Atlanta area or the Dallas?
Well, once again, more thing we would touch on a Saturday is, you know, we found that the city is good properties, but it's so much more expensive. The strategy we have in place wouldn't work, where you're buying a duplex that would cost, you know, $85,000, $90,000. In the city of Atlanta, that same exact property just in the city or in the Fulton, Gwinnett, that little corridor is now $250. You know, and so now you're thinking you're getting the same rent, maybe a little bit more, but it's not that significant, and you're depleting so much more of your income for one property when we're getting 3. You see, now, obviously, our drive radius is a little bit longer, but I think it's much more beneficial than, you know, to get it for 85, 90, 95 versus 250. You know, but that's just a strategy we have in place. But I mean, you know, we'll definitely dive deeper into that, especially if the rent per side is $900. Fulton County, you've paid double the price and your rent is only $1,200. You see, and then down payment, all that stuff plays into a factor on growing your property, your door count. But I understand people want to stay in the city of Atlanta. Yes, any other questions?
Going once, going twice.
Anybody want to hear any more counties? Yes.
One last question.
Repeat the question.
He said everything sounds good, but what's the one thing that stresses me out at night with this business model? I would say the one thing that stresses me out with this business model is finding more properties that fit our strategy. You know, because fixing them up, you know, I have a good little team. You know, we go in there and, we knock them out pretty quickly. But with the properties increasing the way they are and people being more buying holders, they are getting slim. You know, they're getting slim to none out there. They're hard to find, a lot more leg work. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it's really, just to, obviously, the tenants know they have Section 8. They know you're getting good grade properties, so they're typically going to want to be a little more needy, to say. I don't know that, maybe needy is not a good word, but a little more picky. But that just comes with the territory. We do this full time, so I mean, you get a little more, you get a couple more calls. The stove isn't heating up fast enough, or the microwave is making a noise, or my one tenant, the floor is sloping to the left. Is the house moving? You'll get all that type of little funny stuff. But other than that, it's really just looking for properties that fit your strategy, what you're trying to do. Yes.
And do you have a typical monetary value to do your rehabs that, hey, it's, how Kurt will say, hey, $10,000 to $15,000, but for you, is it duplex?
Well, yeah. Well, for me, I'll be honest. So I do a lot of the work, almost 90% of the work myself. We knock them out quick, so that eliminates a huge cost. The current property we're working on, generally had a cost, I think an out-of-pocket cost to fix up around $70,000, $74,000. We're pretty much done with it, and I've spent about maybe $29,000. But that's a lot of sweat equity in myself. I got a quote to bust out the floor and to access the copper pipe that was stolen, and they cut it right at the concrete floor. I got a quote for like $3,500. That was the highest. The medium quote was around $2,100 to bust that out. Well, I got a jackhammer in the garage, did it myself in an hour, and got it tied in with shark bites, and it didn't cost me anything. So that is a huge cost that I understand that a lot of other investors, may not have that time or knowledge to fix that problem. So I do understand that. So typically, whatever the materials cost, what I like to say is the materials cost $15,000. It's going to be probably a little, maybe double that, 30, 35, but the long-term payoff is the big deal. But sweat equity is always going to be the most profitable way. But yeah.
Rockdale County, what are they paying?
I'm sorry?
Rockdale County,
What about it?
what are they paying?
Oh, the second day of the month, second business day of the
No,
month.
she wants to look at your beautiful face.
Rockdale. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Rockdale County. Let me see. That's our county. I should know that. And once again, all this information is accessible on the. So for a one bedroom. Now these are just the standards. These are properly approved, but it says one bedroom 943. 2 bedroom, 1083. That's I know some areas where that can go for. 3 bedroom, 1412. Those are just the standards. But you can take a little bit off that. But those are pretty much the ceilings for those amounts you can ask for. Yes.
Is it uniform across the county, or do they go by the city or the area? Or
They go by the county.
just the county?
Yeah. Yeah. Just another thing to think about when you're looking at investing in your first property or your second or third or fourth. Yes. DeKalb County. Well, that's Atlanta again. That's going to be high.
It's different places.
I don't think it's on that list.
Sorry.
It's gonna be different places for an area.
Yeah. They're all different.
Yeah, don't hold me to these numbers, these are just estimated numbers.
Yeah, these are the standards. Let me see, just for.
I think that's DCA's list.
There's a website for that, isn't there?
Yeah,
All
there's a
this information
website.
be found at dca.gov.
Yeah, all of,
It's DCA.gov, Department of Community Affairs, DCA.gov. And then they have, like, that's where the portal and everything is, you can go on there and they have a click, you would click if you're a landlord or tenant, and then it has other links that you can click on for frequently asked questions and things like that, forms, and the landlord responsibility list that we talked about tonight.
you know what's interesting? I don't even see the cab on there. Sorry about that, I don't see the cab.
I think they have their own.
Yeah, the cab is so big, these are generally gonna be, Fulton, Gwinnett, DeKalb, those counties are doing their own thing, they have their own way of doing things, it's gonna be a lot bigger out there, you know, so I mean, I'm pretty sure they probably, like you said, they probably do have their own, I'm guaranteeing they have their own. Yes. Any more questions? Well, I definitely appreciate our time, and like you said, we're gonna be getting some scheduling together for a Saturday course to really go into more diving into actual more application and follow through and property search on ways to actually maximize the benefits on whatever your investment amount is. Appreciate you. Have a good night. Everybody drive safe. Thank you.
You can't hear me? For real? Slow. I'm talking slow.
Somebody here made it. No, I just back. Yeah, everybody thinks All right, we got a nice crowd. That's cool. Oh yeah, make sure y'all go back there and visit Offer.com. They have a nice little giveaway when you sign up for Offer.com. Do you have the app on your phone? Do you have the Offer.com app on your phone? Huh? You have those properties as they come along. So you need to go back there to Offer.com, sign up so you can get your password. Huh? Offer.com said, look, they normally have a sign. Where's Offer.com sign at? I was at the store, and just put the application while I said they can put the local credit agency. So you can do that to pay your rent. We have Brownsville Solutions back there. If you're looking for some money, you're looking for some money, you need some money in your investment property. They'll go back there and sign. I don't know if the money gonna dry up. I'm trying to get some of myself. See what you can get. Hey, if you do have a property and you want to get some fair market rent, you got Atlanta Housing back there. Atlanta Housing, they're real good. I know. I'm on their payroll. So don't miss out. Don't miss out. Charlie, you going back up? You going back there already, Charlie? Oh, okay, man. All right. Now make sure if you got a business card, you put it in there, and they give away little gifts at the end. So if you got a business card, don't hesitate to put your business card back there and get you a gift. They give away some nice gifts. I don't know. They're giving away gas cards, you know, gas is high now. But it don't work out like that. So go on back there.
All right, welcome to Georgia REIA. So you can apply your guest fee tonight towards your $149 membership. I hope you all know that, so that's fantastic. Member benefits table, is that up and running tonight? Or do we want Kurt to outline member benefits at some point? At some point, okay. So there's a lot of benefits to joining Georgia REIA, besides all the networking and the free education and the 20 meetings per month and the monthly meeting and so forth and so on. Discounted courses taught by local investor gurus like Kurt. I'm standing in front, right? So there's a lot of benefits. In addition, you can get rebates on paint and rebates at Home Depot and so forth. So Kurt's going to go over all of those. Bring a friend next month. You get 1 free month added to your 12-month membership. And of course, we're on the web. Volunteers, we're always looking for volunteers. Georgia REIA is a volunteer organization. We have basically 1 full-time employee and a couple of part-time assistants. But everybody that runs the subgroups and most of the people that speak on Saturdays and people on the board, we're all volunteers. We believe in giving back a little bit. So I don't know particularly what volunteers we need at this time, but if you have an interest in an area or a skill set in an area, if you let us know, I'm sure we can probably fit you in somewhere. Every subgroup is supposed to have 5 or 6 people helping the leader of the subgroups. The last I knew, we had like 0 of those people, so we can use quite a few volunteers. Okay, Georgia REIA Business Associates. This is the tables in the back of the room are all Georgia REIA Business Associates, but in addition, there are other business associates, as you see here. And basically, we have a lot of things covered, and these are people that are quote-unquote investor-friendly and known to your fellow Georgia REIA members. They've been used more than once by a lot of people, so they've kind of been verified, if you will. They're kind of like Angie's List, okay? We can't vouch for everything, but we can vouch for that they do good work and they do it at a reasonable price. Mr. Braswell is in charge of our VA. Do we want to bring him up now? Is that the good time? All right. So Michael Braswell is in charge of our VAs. He's a VA himself, and at this point, we'd like all the VAs to come up and just give a 1-minute synopsis, 1.5, of what you all offer Georgia REIA. You're in charge of keeping that going.
Thank you, Steve. Good evening. How's everybody doing today? All right. All right, great. Glad to see all of you here. Push your way past all this traffic. Again, my name is Mike Braswell. I'm the VA director here, and I run Braswell Capital Solutions. We are your local hard money lender. We can fund fix and flips, buy and holds, commercial real estate, and rental properties for our buy and hold investors. On next Tuesday, I have a monthly real estate networking meeting called Catalyst. We're going to have a gentleman by the name of Daryl Harrington coming in to talk about different strategies for how you build wealth through real estate. Daryl has 23 years of experience, and he does creative financing, buying and holding, landlord, wholesaling, fixing and flipping, you name it. So it's going to be at City Tap. It's a new restaurant downtown in Midtown at 848 Peachtree Street from 11:30 to 1:30. Costs $25 to get in. We feed you and we get you some great information. For those of you that have been here, I think you can attest to that. It's a great meeting to be at. The 3rd Tuesday of every month. So next week, March 19th from 11:30 to 1:30 at City Tap. Please see me if you're interested, and I can give you more information. And with, phone number. My phone number for Braswell Capital, 770-854-2194. And you can go to BraswellCapitalSolutions.com and check out all of our loan programs. I'm going to turn it over to...
Hi everyone, I'm Pam Storm with Red Marketplace, and you're all here tonight, I think, because you're interested in multifamily, right? Buy and hold multifamily, yeah. So if any of you start small, with a single family home or a duplex or something like that first, Rent Marketplace helps you manage your property independently. And before this, I was helping run the country's largest tenant screen firm. So we have online applications, tenant screening, rent payment processing, reporting those payments to the Bureau, online leases, everything that you need to self-manage successfully. So if you ever are looking for a reliable renter or knowledge on how to do all that, we'd love for you to give us a call. 404-998-1017. Thank you.
My name is Bill Hampton. I'm the owner of Hampton Tax and Financial Services. I'm a business member. I'm here today if anybody has any questions about real estate taxation. I specialize in working with real estate investors. I'm a real estate investor myself. I also set up LLCs, and I also do cost segregation. I'll be speaking at the COP subgroup this week about the new tax law changes. And a couple weeks after that, I'll be speaking at the Gwinnett subgroup about the new tax law changes. My telephone number is 404-482-3170. Again, 404-482-3170. 482-3170. I have business cards. I'll be in the back. You can pick up business cards and flyers, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Everyone, I am Nicole Hines. I'm a senior account executive with Baker Collins and Company. Baker Collins and Company is a private money lending group, and we are here to finance your residential as well as your commercial deals. We do finance your multifamily properties, both stabilized and non-stabilized assets. All over Georgia, our rates start at about 5.25 for multifamily. We also fund not only in Atlanta, we fund over the Southeast region, all the way west is Texas, all the way north as New York. If you're looking for personalized service, I'm in the back. We also have 3 training classes for the month of March, 2 of them of which are free. One of them, if there's any real estate agents in the room, it's a CE class where you earn 3 hours of CE credits. But if you want to know more about how to professionally finance your deals using private money, please see me to sign up for our free private money training classes. The next one is on this Saturday, and then the following one is on a Wednesday, and the last one is the 27th of the month. So if you have any myths about using private or hard money, there's a lot of us in the room, we would like to dismay all those myths. Come out and see us, and we will teach you exactly how it works. Also, once again, we do fund multifamily, so if you're looking to do that as well, please see me in the back, Baker Collins and Company. Thank you.
My name is Rachel. I'm here representing Atlanta Housing. We operate the Housing Choice Voucher Program, more commonly known as Section 8, and especially for property owners who are interested in multifamilies, there is a tremendous shortage of houses available for families that we serve. So if you have 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom communities, that is where the greatest need is. There's also a need for higher bedroom sizes, but I just wanted to point out for especially multifamily communities, there is a tremendous shortage for 1- and 2-bedroom properties available for our tenants. The main benefit from our program is that we pay property owners consistent rent, and also we have a new property protection program that reimburses you up to $2,000 if you have damage that's tenant related to your property above normal wear and tear. I'll have my business cards in the back. If you would like additional information, please come back and I'll hand out my business card. Thank you.
Does Atlanta Housing have a float in case government shut down?
Yes. Our property owners were not impacted at all by the government shutdown.
Hey everybody, I'm Vance Blue with SWBC Mortgage. We are a residential mortgage lender, and probably the best thing I can help you out if you are buying and flipping to retail, and you're not familiar with the Georgia Dream. It's a $15,000 interest-free down payment assistance program for first-time homebuyers in resale properties that is forgiven after 5 years and 30 days. So those people that are looking to buy have that great amount of money. They have like 247 of those loans available for the rest of the year. And that program is probably going away this year. It's hardest hit funds, and that program is going away. The other new thing that we've got is 100% financing, no MI, which is just came out last week. It's a little higher interest rate, a lot more risk, but that combination is available for owner-occupied properties, not investment properties. I got that query look. It's like, no, not for investment property. So if you're selling retail, those are some options for you to reach out to us with your buyers, and we can help them out. Vance Blue with SWBC Mortgage.
With Auction.com, the business services group, what we do is we go around to meetings like this, trying to educate the investing public about the auction process and how it works. So you've got all these people who have money to give you. I have houses that you can buy at the auction. Okay, you've got to solidify that. We do online auctions as well as live auctions. The live auctions are held the first Tuesday of every month. Last week was the first Tuesday of the month, and we sold $19 million worth of properties in Georgia that one month. That's consistent with the first couple of months of the year as well. So around the same thing. We sold about $60 million for the first quarter of this year. And we generally sell more as the year goes out. We do a breakfast briefing as well the last Tuesday of each month to educate you about the auction process. The fact that you can sell 40 or buy properties at 40% of the market price. That's a new number, so that half the properties are better than a 40% savings and half the properties are not as good as a 40% savings. So why would you want to buy something that is not the lowest possible price? Well, it's because it doesn't fit your strategy, and it does fit within the budget that you have. And we talk about all of those things, and we give you strategies for operating in the foreclosure market. And we have some investors that come who have been extremely successful at buying from auction.com to share with you their strategies for doing it and succeeding. Please come and sign up. My colleagues are in the back. Jasmine Newbold and Mike McMillan, they'll take your name and we'll send you an electronic notification of that. Okay, we bring 20 to 25,000 properties to auction every month, so there's always deals on. I'm Bob Townsend with auction.com. Thank you.
I'm Rick Gerges with Equitable Consulting. We're a licensed brokerage, and we've been around for 20 years. Licensed by NMLS, Farm Banking Finance in Georgia and Florida. We also do apartment funding nationwide through Fannie Mae directly. A lot of people don't know a few things about apartment funding. You can do a bunch of houses, a portfolio of houses at rates below 5%. It's also based on debt service coverage ratios, which the main presenter is going to cover more on tonight. And so your personal income is not nearly as important. I've been doing apartment loans for several years. It's one of my favorite things to do. And it's one of the best ways to capitalize on passive income on a much larger scale. One of the biggest things to keep in mind with that is asset management. I'm not going to get all long-winded because your speaker is going to cover this in depth. My name is Rick Gerges. My table's in the back over by apartment and commercial mortgages. You can reach me at 404-481-5092. And thank you all for coming tonight. And I'm going to hand the mic back to Steve. We're going to break for a few, and then the speaker is going to come on at 7:30.